Hey everybody, it's Alex Joungblood. I'm gonna take a look at a property. It just came in hot off one of my websites that I have out there. I actually have a decent search engine optimization platform going on right now. So basically what that means is when people go to Google and they search, I need to sell my house fast, then one of my sites pops up and then they call me and then we take a look at the lead and we try to make some money on it. So let's go ahead and take a look at it. We're gonna deep dive it and even go show you the house. So let's go. All right, guys, we're gonna take a deeper look at this. This is a lead that came in from somebody calling one of my phone numbers that's actually listed on Google, a Google Maps business listing. So what that's referred to is a search engine optimization. So these leads are really great because somebody is calling me from a search that they performed. It could be something like sell my house fast in a local name of a town or a city they might use. But the fact is, this person reached out to me looking for a house they want to sell, and they're looking for a quick cash offer. We actually did a virtual appointment with them. I was on the phone with them, and they actually sent me messages and pictures of the different rooms in the house while I was talking to them. So it was a really cool experience, especially with everything that's going on right now. And then through that, I was able to get an idea of what I was looking at, and then we set the appointment to actually go out there and put eyes on the property. But now what we need to do is we need to look at some of the comparables and look at what the properties are selling for so we could come up with a really good offer. So come on in and let's take a look at this. I actually have a software up that I use to look at all my properties. It's PropStream. If you're interested in this, you can go to reiflipdata.com. That's reiflipdata.com. But I'm going to go ahead and put the address in up here really quick. I had it in here before, so I'm going to go do that. And I'm going to click search. And then what it does is it brings up the property. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to details. Now, this is kind of an interesting property because it only has one bathroom. And it's built in 1923. So there's a lot of different activities going on out there. You can see here 4 bedrooms, 1 full bath. So that's going to make it difficult to compare. Now, if I go over here and I look at some of the messages that this seller sent me, like I was talking about, and we come here. Let's see, we'll start at the kitchen. You can kind of get an idea of what I'm looking at here. You see nice kitchen, nice wood floors, fireplace with the TV over it. We've got a little bit of a nice little bookcase built out in there. Again, floors look great. Paint actually looks good. The trim in the house looks beautiful. You can see the different style of the craftsman style stuff in the house. Again, floors, everything looks good. Bathroom is dated, but again, it's livable, definitely looks doable. So that made me interested enough to the point to go ahead and get an appointment with that. So when we come back here to PropStream, this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna look at my comparables. I'm gonna go to my comparables and I'm going to use a filter on this that's going to filter in the area. I wanna stay within about a half-mile distance. And I want to go to a year built. I'm gonna go with a year built of 1900 to let's say 35, because we want all similar properties within that range. Then what I'm gonna do is I'm going to look at the area here from these comparables. So here's my subject property over here, you can see it. And then here's the sales around the property. So interesting thing is there's not a lot of properties that have sold within this spot here. We kind of have to cross over this main road over here to get to it. But if we're going to do some comparables here, we want to make sure that we're looking at as is comps. So if there's a 1-bedroom house, that's going to be the one that we kind of come up with from our offer price. So if I just scroll over here real quick, you see I've got the 4 bedrooms and the 1 bath, and I scroll and I go with my baths here, and I look and I see within the same square footage, and looking at the property sold, I see some for 85 and 99. Now, I know this area very well, and I know that these the sales that are for that amount are actually in a spot that's not very comparable. These are houses that, because they're across this main road over here, they're not going to bring as much as the ones do that are on the water. So if I look here, knowing that these streets are out of there, and then I look at this one, which is here on Fontainebleau, which is 4 bedrooms, 1 bath, 1,800 square feet, similar to the property that I'm looking at, I notice is at 220. So if I click on that property and then look at the details, I can see that this property here, and I can look at the properties. That's one great thing about reiflipdata.com, is that I can look at pictures and get a general idea of what I'm looking at. So this looks like my subject property that I'm working with, very similar style. It does not have a garage. It's built in 1927. It's got some of the dated trim and the things like that. The kitchen is somewhat updated, and the floor is updated, very similar to what I'm working with in the house that I'm looking at, and they got 220 for it. So this may indicate that this might be a good as-is price when we go to turn around and sell it. So a house that's like this, that's in good general shape, and looks to be one that we might be able to wholesale. So what is a wholesale? A wholesale is when we buy something and then we simply just clean it up really quickly and then relist it on the market. And like a normal traditional sale with a realtor, we're gonna pay realtor fees and commissions and things like that. So that if we were to do the same thing and sell it for 220, you could figure a quick 10% off the top. And the reason why we do that is because you pay 3% to the realtor, 3% to the buying realtor, 3% to the selling realtor, and then 3% in closing costs. So it's 9%, but typically that you can just round it off to 10. So if we sold for 220, then that would mean you take 22,000 off that price of 220, and that's gonna put us right around the 198 mark of where it's essentially what we're going to net. And that's even before closing costs and things like that. So if 220 is that figure, and that's what we're gonna net, about 198, then anything under 190 is essentially profit that we can buy it for, especially if we're not gonna do any work to it. So let's come back in here and take a look a little bit further about some other things that are going on in that neighborhood. So another search I like to do when I'm looking at these type properties is I do a search in which I do a most expensive search to see what the potential could be. And here's this property. It's number 6 on the list. There it is. See, it's across the way over here in this neighborhood. They got $315 for that house. Here's another one, number 11, which is over back this way, and they got $315 for that house. And similar square footage, but see, they've got the 5 bedrooms and the 2.5 baths. So looking at this, there is a huge upside potential, but I'm looking at this from a way to where I'm probably gonna have to be somewhere between 150 and 175 if I'm gonna make any money on this property as is. That's probably gonna be around where my target is. There is an upside. Now, if we were gonna do a renovation, we could probably add another bathroom in there and get that price a little bit further up. But this is just some general research that give you a really good idea of what's going on in that neighborhood. Come here real quick, and again, I'll show you some things here that we can find out. So we want to look at that most expensive property because here's a comp that a lot of people are not looking at. And I like to look at this in the transactional section. Now in this situation, this was not an investor that bought that property. And I'm looking at that over here to see this in the transaction and mortgage history. So let's back out of that one real quick. And then let's go to this one here. Okay, so this, as you can tell, looks like a property that was renovated. It was right on Tidewater Drive, actually. And if we come over here and look in the mortgage and transaction history, we can see here that if you can zoom in on this a little bit, you can just come in a little bit closer. You can see that back in 18, this property was bought for 110 and then completely developed at 315. So we know if somebody's going to buy a property that's in really rough shape and then relist it or rehab it and then relist it, that 315 at 1,800 square feet is potential. So looking at that, this is really a good opportunity where there's a lot of equity, a lot of potential. So now we're going to go out, we're going to meet the seller, we're going to see what that bottom line is, what we can get the property for, and then see if there's opportunity to make money. So let's go do that. All right, so we are pulling up to the property here. What's interesting is that we just drove through a completely different neighborhood, and then when we went over the bridge to get into this neighborhood, it's like night and day, completely different. So just like I was talking about when you're doing comps and when you are looking at different properties, you have to make sure that you're staying on the right side of major roadways or the right side of a bridge. Really important to know that because it could be a block that makes the difference in the comparables and the pricing in the neighborhood. So definitely something to keep in mind. So we are almost approaching this property here, and we're going to speak to the seller and see what we're looking at. Guys, we just walked through that property, talked to the homeowner, and honestly, I don't know if we're going to end up buying her property, but what I did was I gave her the best possible information that I could for her situation. And really, that's what you want to do when you're working with homeowners in this situation. You want to give them the best possible information so that they can make the best possible decision. It's not about forcing people to sign a contract or forcing people to do a deal when they don't even know if that's the best possible option for them. So in this particular situation, I educated her on the fact that she could potentially refinance because she was trying to get enough money to do some fix up to the property to where she could either stay at the property or sell it and then take that money and move on to another property. So she thought she would have to do some kind of finicky things, which I showed her are actually not in her best interest because it wouldn't be actually the most, it wouldn't be the best thing with a mortgage company, because the mortgage company doesn't want you to sell a property like to your daughter or son and then pull out money and then be in a situation to where you could potentially be committing mortgage fraud. So I helped her understand that and trying to help her link her up with maybe a different mortgage broker and maybe even my realtor to help her potentially be able to sell the property as is, and then from there can maybe help her find a place to go. So again, it's not all about trying to force people into making decisions that benefit you, but you lay out the best possible information and demonstrate that you care about their situation and what they're trying to accomplish, and then also lay out the best possible options for them. So we'll see what happens with this one. I always love out checking properties out and meeting with particular owners. I don't go out to every appointment, but this one just seemed like it was something that would be in my best interest to do that, and then to help this particular seller as well. She was in a situation to where she had an ex-husband that kind of put her in a little bit of a rough situation. So she was trying to figure out what the best thing she could do. And honestly, I'm gonna go back to the drawing board on this one, take a look at some of the comparables. This area is really kind of street to street. So I wanna make sure that I'm looking at the comps in the right areas to make sure that that end value is there to whether we're gonna buy this one and fix it up, or if there is a potential to flip it or not. So there's a lot of different things to consider here. And I'm gonna evaluate that and see what the best possible deal we could potentially go with. So to be continued on this one. So Eric, my handy cameraman here, went along with me and tried to get his take and opinion on the situation. So what did you think overall about the house and the lady and the whole experience?
So I thought the house was good, but there were some slopes in the floor, and I thought it was kind of interesting how you went up and then there was another staircase into that room and then another staircase into that room. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, so it had a little bit of a classic design to it. What did you think about the situation though surrounding it, like with her being there alone and trying to sell it or trying to figure out what she wanted to do? What did you think about that?
Like how she was trying to sell it.
Yeah, well, like why was she trying to sell it? Did you figure out or see like why she wanted to sell the house? Did you hear?
She was trying to sell it because because she wanted to renovate it or something like that and make it look better or something.
Well, we talked about the refinancing, and if she refinanced, then she can pull money out and then do the renovations and things like that, right?
Yeah.
That was one thing that she was trying to do, but the other option was to sell it, because if she sold it, what did she want to do?
She wanted to live in like a few blocks away or something.
She wanted to stay in the area, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it seemed like with her family situation, with her being alone there, that was kind of a little bit of a sad situation, right? But it seemed like she had the support of her family, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Her daughter's helping her.
Yeah. So did she seem like she was happy that we were there to talk to her?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, how could you tell that?
Because, like she said, she was having a rough day cleaning things up, and I could tell that when we were there, we kind of we explained it more to her how it would work and stuff like that.
Okay, so she got some good information from it.
Yeah.
So yeah, sometimes it's nice to just be able to talk to people and give them information to see if they can make a better decision that works for them, right?
Yeah.
You know, we don't always have to buy somebody's house, but we can be there and try to help them and make their day a little bit better, right? Yeah. So cool. Well, again, I appreciate you coming out there and taking a look. I mean, we're still not done. We're gonna take a look at some numbers out there and see what we could potentially sell the house for. If we were to buy it, and then maybe even refer it over to a realtor potentially. But yeah, overall good experience, I think, right?
Yep.
Awesome.